Going here. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. As I mentioned, my name is Roxanne, and I am a member of our community relations team here at Neighborhood Credit Union. So today we are going to talk about budgeting. Now, sometimes no matter how much you work, it can feel really hard to manage your money and to get ahead with your finances. Now, I'm sure that sounds familiar to all of you. That might be why you're here today. But today we are going to learn the basics of budgeting. We will explore the differences of creating and maintaining a budget. We will examine the differences between wants and needs, and we're going to talk about setting goals for spending, savings, and debt repayment. So managing and improving your personal finances are achievable goals. This workshop will teach you some steps and strategies to help you budget wisely and productively. So today we are going to learn about budgeting using some scenarios with a character named Marta. So who is Marta? Well, she is 40 years old. She works two jobs just to make ends meet. During the week, she's a cashier at a grocery store, and on the weekends, she's a hostess in a restaurant. So Marta makes $2,000 a month, but sometimes she struggles with her finances. She feels like she just keeps paying her credit card bills, but she doesn't ever seem to be able to pay them off or get ahead. She does have some short-term and long-term financial goals, and she dreams of taking a vacation next summer and eventually buying her own home. So very typical scenario, right? So let's see today how we can help Marta. So Marta feels frustrated because she feels like it's hard to get ahead with her finances. So, how can Marta help herself get ahead? Uh, could she make a financial plan, make a budget, have some savings, live within her means, reduce her debt, right? All of those things will help her get ahead, and they sound a lot easier said than done, but we're going to talk about all of those things here today. So, let's help Marta set a budget, and let's see how she can first get started with her budgeting. So we described Marta as making $2,000 a month in net income. But do you know what that really means? Do you know what net income really means? Well, net income is the amount of money that's in your actual paycheck. Your gross income is the amount of money that you earn before any taxes or benefits are taken out. Okay, so your gross income is a big number, taxes and benefits and those types of things are taken out, and the money you take home is called your net income. So, or your take home pay. So when we say that Marta makes $2,000 in net income, that means she's the amount that she makes after taxes. So she brings home $2,000 every month. So this number will help us as we continue through this budgeting plan. So let's learn about the benefits of budgeting. Okay, so budgeting is the process of creating a plan to spend your money. But budgeting can help you in lots of ways, but we're going to talk about 3 ways here today. So budgeting can help you live within your means. When you budget your money, you create a clear picture of where your money is going. By using a budget, you can see where you might be spending too much money in a certain area and can change your money habits for the future. Budgeting also helps you pay down your debt. So by reviewing your budget, you can set a plan to pay down your debt. A budget can help you stay on track as you make these payments and help you chart a path to get out of debt. And finally, budgeting helps you save for the future and for emergencies. So budgeting can help you save money towards your financial goals. Plus, it can help you in case you have an unexpected financial emergency, like vehicle problems, right? Your car breaks down, or maybe you have a surprise trip to the emergency room. I hope not, but if you do, If you budget for these emergencies, then you won't have to put those expenses on a credit card. So let's learn a little bit more about Marta's wants and her needs. So she's feeling frustrated and needs some help with her finances. The first step Marta can do to track her current spending is to actually see where she is spending her money. She decides to take a look at some of the items that she's been spending her money on, and so she makes a list of all of her monthly expenses. And you can see that list here on the slide, but I want to stop real quick and throw one thing in here. So one of the most beneficial but easiest things you can do to help with your budgeting and your finances is to track all of your expenses for a period of time. Now, ideally a month, maybe 2 or 3, but don't just track them in your head, write them down. I want you to write down each and every transaction you make. Every stop at the gas station for a snack or a drink for gas, every trip through the drive-through, every bill you pay, every late fee you incur, everything, each and every penny. I want you to write it down. Write it on a piece of paper, make a spreadsheet, whatever, just write it down so you can visually see it. There is something to be said for seeing visually where your money is going. Everything now is so digital and we don't always see that in front of us. So it's easy, really easy to spend that money. A lot of times we don't have that money to be spending. So keep track of where, when, and how you're spending your money. If you don't do anything else, at least do this so you become aware of where you're spending your money, what you're spending your money on. Because I'll tell you what, at the end of the month or 2 months that you do this, you will be able to see, wow, I really spent a lot of money at Starbucks this month, or I really spent a lot of money on groceries. Maybe I don't need to spend that much, or I spent a lot of money eating out. Okay, so visually seeing those things can make a huge difference for you. Okay, so now back to the program here. We're going to talk about Marta's wants and needs. So let's take a look at the list on the screen here, and let's try just kind of think to yourself, what would maybe be a want for Marta and what would be a need for Marta? So she is currently spending money on coffee, groceries, car insurance, the usual stuff, right? Internet, going out to eat, entertainment, a car payment, rent, medical expenses, those types of things. You can also turn to page 3 in your participant guide. And just in your own time, I want you to write an N next to each item that you think is a need and a W next to each item that you think is a want. And so later we'll go back to see where Marta can make some changes to her budget and cut her expenses. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about cutting her expenses. So when you have identified what is a want and what is a need, you can figure out exactly what those are costing you every month. So on Marta's list that we looked at, it's on the screen here, we've added up the amounts of her wants and her needs. So as you can see, Marta's needs total $1,485 and her wants total $330. So based upon this information, Marta is living within her needs, correct? Right? Remember, she's bringing home $2,000 a month. So based upon this information, Marta is doing well and living within her means. But she hasn't accounted for paying down debt. And so this looks good here, but it's just not all of the information. So we'll discuss paying down debt in just a moment. So yes, technically she's living within her means, but there's still some places where Marta can make some changes to save money. So let's look at these expenses again. And you can also follow along on page 4 of your participant guide. So let's think about Marta's wants and needs and think about what items could be cut. She is currently spending $40 on coffee, $50 at restaurants, $40 on entertainment, $100 on clothing, $100 at the salon, and then she's got rent, groceries for $600 and $200 respectively. So you'll see all of these here. So let's look through here and see where there are some places that she could save money on her wants. But the thing that you need to remember too is that there always has to be some sort of balance. So you, myself, everybody deserves to have a little bit you deserve to go to coffee every once in a while, that sort of thing, but you need to work that into your budget so you can afford it. So the key is to balance out your spending so you have some room for your wants, so you don't always feel like you don't get to do anything because all you're doing is saving or paying off debt, that sort of thing. So in the next section, we're going to go over some things that Marta can do to free up funds. So like Marta, we can all save money on wants by using some money saving strategies to free up funds. And so let's go over some of these strategies. So cut expenses. The first thing you can do to free up some funds is to find places that you can cut expenses. Take a good look at your wants and how much you're spending on those things, like eating out, and try and make some small changes where you can. Reduce your spending. So take a look at your needs. And is there a way for you to reduce that spending? Can you maybe not eat out so much, but plan a few meals, and so you can go to the discount grocery store and save some money that way, cut coupons, that sort of thing. Just really analyze your needs and look for creative ways to reduce that spending. Price shop for services. When is the last time you looked at your insurance, your auto insurance, or your homeowner's insurance? I can tell you, we just did this right now, my family, and we have ended up saving a lot of money. Those types of things are costs, expenses that you need to have, but you just you do it, you get set into a policy, and then you set it aside and you don't have to worry about it anymore. Because let's be honest, it's not fun to shop for car insurance or homeowners insurance or things like that. But if you do that every once in a while, you'd be surprised at how much money you can spend. I was very surprised, even today when things are so crazy, how much money we ended up saving on our auto and our homeowner insurance. So maybe think about a new job. So think about your employment status, your skill set, and the job market. Are you in a position to earn a raise? Would you be in a better financial position working somewhere else? Is there something you could do to increase your marketability, like taking a new class or learning a new skill? And finally, consider freelancing or a side gig, right? If you are just looking for some supplemental income in addition to your current job, consider taking up a side gig in your field or in a job that you're qualified to work in to make more money to free up some funds. So Marta decided to reduce her spending and consider looking for a new job opportunity where she could use her skills and make more money. So next, we are going to focus, on Marta's debts. Okay, so Marta has identified where she can make some changes to her spending and where she can free up some funds. But Marta also has some debt that she needs to pay down that was not included in that initial list of wants and needs. She needs to be able to pay off that debt to live within her means. Otherwise, she's using credit cards to supplement her income, and that isn't helping her at all. So Marta has a student loan payment and credit card payments that she also needs to take into account. She has been paying the minimum balance on her credit cards for a while, but just can't seem to pay them off. So Marta's debts are listed here on the screen. You'll see 2 credit cards. One has a balance of $400 and an interest rate of 23%. Another credit card that has a balance of $300 and has an interest rate of 18%, and her student loans total $7,000, and she's paying an interest rate of 12% interest on that. So let's look at a couple popular strategies that Marta could use to pay off her debt. So you may have heard of these. They're two very common strategies to pay off your debt. One of them is referred to as the avalanche method, and the other is the snowball method. So let's review each of these. When you use the avalanche method, you list your debts in order from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate, and then you work on paying off the debt with the higher interest rate first. So in this case, if Marta used the avalanche method, she would pay off credit card A first because it has the highest interest rate at 23%. So using this approach, Marta will save more money in the long term, but it might take her a little bit longer to pay that off. So the other debt management strategy is the snowball method. The snowball method allows you, or it tells you to list your debts in order from smallest balance to the largest balance and pay off that smallest debt first. So if Marta used this, she would pay off credit card B first with a balance of $300 and interest rate at 18%, because that card has the smallest balance. So at at first glance, it seems like the avalanche method might make most sense financially. After all, it appears it would save her more money in the long run. So let's look at these debts again, and considering all that you know about Marta now and her debts, which method do you think might work best? So she might feel like she's making progress using the snowball method because she could potentially pay off one entire credit card in 1 to 3 months. But she's also paying more for credit card A with that 23% interest. So using the avalanche method would help her save more money in the long run, but it may not, she may not be able to stay motivated, right? Because it's taking longer. So this is a personal decision. The best advice is for you just to pick a method you're going to use to pay off your debt and stick with it. Because if you bounce from method to method, you're not going to make a whole lot of progress. So pick a method and stick with it. That's the best advice I have for you. Okay, so now Marta has learned how to figure out her wants and her needs, cut her expenses to save money, and work on paying down her debt. But she also has some financial dreams. So let's see how she can turn those dreams into financial goals. So changing money habits is challenging. There's no doubt about it. But one way to make this a little bit more easy or last longer is to set personal and meaningful goals for yourself. So financial goals are personal goals that you set for yourself about how you will save and spend your money. These goals can be things that you hope to achieve in a short term or maybe further on down the road. So there are short-term goals that can be accomplished in a few months or up to, say, 2 years. Medium-term goals, which can be accomplished in, say, 2 to 5 years, and then long-term goals, which can be accomplished in more than 5 years. So for Marta, her goals are the following. Her short-term goal is to save for a friend's wedding present, to buy a new phone, and to pay off her credit cards. Her medium-term goal is to pay off her student loans, buy a new computer, and take that vacation. And her long-term goal is to save for a down payment on a house and buy a new car. So setting goals can be fun and exciting to think about. So when you decide what your goals are, I encourage you to think about your short, medium, and long-term goals. And there's a space for you in your participant guide on page 5 for you to write those down. I encourage you to write them down, look at them, visually see them, put them in on your bathroom mirror or something so they're constantly there and you know what you're always working towards. When you have them written down, you are already one step closer in making your goals a reality. So now that we have an idea of what Marta spends her money on, her debts, and her financial goals, we can introduce some guidelines on how to help her create her budget and how you can create your own budget. So today we are going to focus on the 50-30-20 rule, and the categories method of budgeting. So these are two very different methods, but you may find some helpful strategies in each of these. So let's talk about them. So the 50-30-20 rule is designed to be very easy to follow without using a whole lot of numbers and categories. So the rule works by dividing up your take-home pay, right? Your net income, and recommends that you spend no more than 50% of that on your needs, no more than 30% on your wants, and at least 20% of that on savings or your debt repayment. So let's look at this method, or let's use this method to look at Marta's financial situation and see how it would work for her. So Marta takes home $2,000 a month, right? We've established that. So according to the 50-30-20 rule, she should be spending half of that on her needs. So half of that is $1,000. So she should be spending no more than $1,000 on her needs. And she should be spending no more than $600 on her wants. 30% of 2,000 is 600, right? And her savings are paying off debt. She should be spending at least 20% on that, or for Marta, it's $400. So let's look and see how Marta is doing using these figures. So you can turn to page 6 in your participant guide if you have it. So these numbers you'll see on the screen here, Marta has made some cuts to her spending after she's reviewed everything. So on the column on the right side of the screen, you'll see that they've been cut as she took time to make those cuts to her budget. So you can look at some of these numbers, like on the coffee, she's now spending $20 instead of it was 40 before, in restaurants and that sort of thing. So she has made some cuts here. Now, to review, she should be spending no more than that 50%, right? According to this rule, on her needs, that's $1,000. And she is currently spending, you'll see here, $1,140. So some of the cuts that Marta could make could include moving somewhere with lower rent, considering alternative grocery options to reduce costs, explore public transportation or carpooling, maybe trade in her car for an older vehicle or a more economic vehicle, or shopping around for that less expensive car insurance. So in the right-hand column, we've made some cuts for Marta to demonstrate some areas where she could save money, but she's still over that $1,000 threshold. So let's look at Marta's wants. So previously she was spending $330 on wants, and she's made sort of a first round of cuts. And that's even that number is below the 30% or the $600. So that is great. But as you can see, she's made some additional cuts and got her wants down to $210. So that means she can consider using extra money to save more each month toward her financial goal and pay off her debts. So at least 20% or $400 for Marta should go to her debt repayments, her debt payments, and or her savings account. So she's currently hitting this mark by spending $300 in debt repayments. Therefore, she has $100 extra to put into savings each month. So as you can see, the 50-30-20 rule may identify some areas where you should reduce your spending, but it also can help you find additional money in your budget to put towards savings and debt repayment goals. Sometimes it doesn't work perfectly. As you can see, Marta's still spending more than that 50%, but it's a good guideline anyway. So now the other method that we talked about was the categories method. So using that method, let's look at Marta's budget. So the categories method it's a bit more detailed breakdown of percentages and categories, and it allocates income according to the needs of a person or your household. So by thinking about the specific categories in which you spend each month, you can predict how much of your income will be left over for savings and make adjustments to meet your goals. So here's an example of a categories budget. So you can see on the screen, again, this is just an example, but housing would be 30% of your income, 10% for utilities and groceries, 10% for transportation and debt repayment and savings. Maybe it's 5% for dining out, 5% for car insurance, for clothing, for entertainment. So using this breakdown, let's take a look at Marta's numbers again. So she is spending $500 on her housing, but the percentage was 30%. So 30% is technically $600, and she's spending less than that already at $500. Utilities, 10%, so that equals $200, but she's only spending 75. And groceries should be 10%, and that's $200 of her income, but she's only spending 100. So these categories can be adjusted towards your personal needs. So that's why some people may have a harder time with this one, because it's a little bit more subjective. But just depending on you and your situation, this categories method can definitely be beneficial for you. If not, the 50-30-20 rule will work just as good for you. So you can set the guidelines with this category method. Me personally, I can't use this method because I need some more strict numbers. I would find it easy for myself to justify increasing my grocery percentage to 20% just because I want to spend more money on groceries. So that would not be best suited to me and my personality. So I definitely like the 50-30-21 or strategy better. So there's no one size fits all here. There's lots of other ways as well, strategies. Just do some research and find the solution that works best for you and stick with it. That's the best thing I can tell you, is to just stick with it. So next, let's talk about savings and how we can increase that over time. So it can be really hard to remember to save money over time. And remember that with savings, any progress is good progress. So any amount will make a difference. So you don't need to set aside a huge amount all at once. It makes savings works best when you plan for it and then you take steps to achieve that goal. So for Marta, she needs to save to reach her financial goals. Remember, her short-term goal is to save for a friend's wedding present, to buy a new phone and pay off her credit cards. Her medium-term goal is to pay off her student loans, buy a new computer, and take that vacation. And her long-term goal is to save for a down payment on a house and to buy a new car. So she doesn't have a lot of money to devote to savings each month, as we can see, but she wants to start building her savings so she can reach her goals by living within her means. So here are some strategies that you can use to save more money each month. The first one is to make a habit of saving. Decide on an amount that you're going to save each month and stick to it, so you get used to putting that amount into your savings each month. Another tip is to make this automatic. So I think it's safe to say that most, not all, I understand, but most places offer direct deposit. So you're getting your paycheck, it's just showing up in your checking account, right? So a good tip is to make transferring, make it a recurring transaction every month or every time you get a paycheck, that automatically transfer X amount of money into your savings account. So if the money comes in from your employer, that money goes into your savings account, boom, done. You don't see it, you're not tempted to spend it. And finally, limit your spending. So spending less can make your savings goals easier. So try to cut back a little bit every time that you can. So today we learned many steps, tools, strategies, and behaviors that can positively affect your personal finances if used regularly. Like I said, pick a method and stick with it. So I encourage you to take some time to use these tools to improve and maintain your finances. So improving your financial situation is achievable with thoughtful attention, regular maintenance, and improved habits. There are many tools you can use to make a budget. For this workshop, a sample budget has been included in your participant guide, so you can use that in your own time for your own personal budget. Remember, there's lots of strategies for budgeting as well, but the important thing is that you use one to manage your spending, savings, and debt repayment. When approaching your debt repayment, consider strategies like the avalanche method that we talked about or the snowball method. Setting personal and meaningful goals to help you stay motivated and on track will help you in both in the short and the long term. And check in regularly. Just see how you're doing. Do a check with yourself or seek help from a professional on ways to become more informed and aware of your financial situation. I would like to throw out there for you guys before we wrap things up today that we have a resource that we would like to offer you all that I really hope each and every one of you takes advantage of. So here at Neighborhood Credit Union, we partner with a nonprofit organization called Green Path Financial Wellness. Now, this is an organization that has been providing free individual counseling, guidance, information, and tools to help individuals meet their goals and improve their overall financial health for over 60 years. And I can't stress enough about how great this organization is. So now, more than ever, you guys are feeling it. I'm feeling it. We're all feeling the 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 stress of our financial situation, right? So it's really easy and normal for you to feel like you don't know what to do or you're feeling helpless. You don't know who to turn to. So talking with an expert can make a huge difference for you. So I encourage you all to reach out to GreenPath, whether you're in a tough position or not. Maybe you're really fine financially, but you don't know how to save for that down payment on a house. Regardless of what position you are in, I am telling you that GreenPath will have some great resources and advice for you. So it's free, and it might just be that one thing that you've been missing in helping you reach your financial goals. So I will include information on GreenPath in the email that I send you guys today. It's a great organization, so I hope you all take advantage of that. Okay, so that concludes our webinar today. We have a few things left to go over, and we'll go ahead and get the recording stopped. And let's see here, let me get my screens